One of the things I think is very important to have as part of your everyday carry gear is a good tourniquet. Whether you carry concealed, play with sharp stuff like I do, or just want to be prepared, a tourniquet is a very simple thing to have that could actually save yours or somebody else's life in an emergency. So in this video we're going to take a look at what I think are maybe 4 of the most popular tourniquets out on the market. I'm going to tell you which ones I prefer for everyday carry and give you my admittedly unprofessional opinion as to why. That's what's coming up next here on Survival on Purpose. Welcome back to Survival on Purpose, your home for information and gear reviews related to camping, survival, and general preparedness for regular folks. My name's Brian. Thanks for joining me. And the mosquitoes, which invariably wind up on my forehead. So, man, every time I've got the Thermacell backpacker cranking down here, but every time I try to keep them off my forehead, I do the editing and I realize there's a stinking mosquito up there. So if you see it, let me know, and if not, you can laugh about it on the video. So real quick, let's talk about tourniquets. I'm going to tell you what, I've got 4 tourniquets here. We're going to talk about these in sort of detail. My introduction to tourniquets was actually, I went to a survival training kind of a weekend, and Alan Kay, who was the winner of season 1 of the Alone TV show, was there, and we were talking about concealed carry and tactical type stuff, because not only did he win the survival challenge there, but he's also had a lot of experience in law enforcement as a escaped fugitive squad. I think he was dealing with escaped fugitives and stuff for the state of Georgia. Anyway, and he kind of chastised me because he said, if you're going to carry conceal, you really need to carry a tourniquet, because there's a good chance that you might be shot or somebody. If you're in a violent situation, if you're prepared for that, then you need to be prepared for the aftermath. So, and it really got my attention. So I went out and bought the first tourniquet that he recommended, which is this TX2 by RevMed. We're going to take a look at that. And then I wound up getting another tourniquet after another class I went to, and this is the softt-w tourniquet, which is a different type of tourniquet. We're going to take a look at that, and then we're going to look at a couple of other ones. We're going to look at the TK4, and then we're going to look at the popular rat tourniquet. So instead of me standing here rambling, let me just take you down to the old stump top. We'll take a look at each of these tourniquets and compare them to each other. I'll tell you which ones I prefer for everyday carry and why. And maybe that'll help you, and we'll wrap this thing up. All right, so I'm sitting at the old stump top, but I didn't think it would be very useful to show you the stuff on the stump top. I thought it'd be better to actually show you in action. I'm gonna kind of show you how you would use this on yourself, each one of these. So there's basically 3 different types of tourniquets that I'm aware of. And again, right off the bat, like everything else I do, this is just a regular guy viewpoint. I am not a first responder. I'm not a paramedic. I'm not any kind of an expert whatsoever, but I do carry a tourniquet every day. So what you're going to be getting is just a regular guy, non-professional opinion, and hopefully that'll be helpful. So anyway, there's 3 basic types of tourniquets from what I can tell. There is the classic. This is the windlass style tourniquet, and this is the softt-w. It's also a cat tourniquet. Is very, very similar. They're almost the same. There may be a couple of little differences. I have the softt-w, not the cat. Then there are elastic tourniquets like the TK4 and the rats. And then finally, this is a little bit different. This probably not as prevalent, but it's the TX2, which is a ratcheting type tourniquet. So we're gonna start with this one, because this is actually the first one I bought. This is the one that Alan Kay recommended and the one that he carries, or at least he did at that time. So not only is this the first one, it's also the most expensive. It's about 38, 39 bucks online where you can find it now. So let me just show you how this one works. Basically, if you're not familiar, the purpose of a tourniquet is to shut down your blood flow so you don't bleed out if you have a wound, a heavy bad wound on an extremity. And there are big arteries here in your arms, and there are big arteries like here in your groin, your femoral arteries. And I've told this story before. One time, I'll tell it real quick again. My oldest son, who is now 31 years old, when he was in like the 4th or 5th grade in school, he put his arm, he was knocking on a window at somebody outside, and it was an old school and wasn't tempered glass, and his arm went through the window and sliced some tendons and veins and arteries right here, and they couldn't get it to stop with direct pressure. And thankfully, a teacher knew to use a pressure point here and use her hand and thumb to apply a pressure point to that main artery running down. And the paramedics told me at the hospital that actually saved his life, or he would have been hit, because there was a lot of blood. So I'm so thankful that the teacher knew that. But the purpose for a tourniquet is essentially to do the same thing, is to stop to restrict and squeeze all those arteries and veins to stop the blood from being able to get to the open wound. And a lot of misconceptions and a lot of old wives' tales about tourniquets. If you put a tourniquet on, you're going to lose a limb and all that. I think in our modern warfare era, I guess, has proven that tourniquets definitely save lives, and if they're applied and removed within a reasonable amount of time, they don't lose limbs like as much as people used to think. So certainly the mantra has always been it's better to lose a limb than lose your life. But I think the results have borne out, at least on my research, that tourniquets you put a tourniquet on isn't a guarantee you're going to lose your limb. In fact, if you get it on and get to the hospital in time quickly, it'll save you. Basically it'll give you enough time to where you can get to the hospital, and they can hopefully save your life and your limb. So there you go. So anyway, but what I look for in an everyday carry tourniquet is a tourniquet that I can put on by myself if I were injured. Because let's face it, if you carry concealed, or you think there might be an opportunity for you to get into if you get in a violent confrontation, whether you're carry concealed or not, if you could get cut with a knife. If you're just playing in the woods with a knife, an axe, or a hatchet, you can get cut. Or you could actually just run into somebody on the street that needs that's got a bad wound. So if you can put it on yourself, you can certainly put it on somebody else. So here's the way that you're supposed to, at least they recommend, to put the TX2 on by yourself. And I'm going to demonstrate on my arm because I think that's more difficult. Just to show you, if you put it on your leg, you got two ways you can do this. You can either unthread it through the buckle like so, and basically thread it back in. It's just a standard 2-ring buckle, and through the outer one there, just to kind of tighten it, and then you pull it tight. And so if you can't slip it around somebody's leg or your leg, then you can take it off and do that. That's going to take time, but I'm just going to show you. So on your leg, it's pretty easy. You can put it up here on your leg like this. You just hold this loop here, you pull it as tight as you can get it first hand. And by the way, you want to put a tourniquet as high, as close to the joint as you can. So you want to go way up high here with it, just to have the most opportunity. And this is a 2-inch wide band, so it's good. You pull it tight, as tight as you can get it. And then you got a ratchet here. You just start ratcheting that sucker up until the blood stops. And then to release it, you pop it up here and slide it back down. And then you got to just slide it off, pull it back. So it's pretty easy to do with 2 hands on your leg or on somebody else's leg. And the challenge for me comes in, say you're shot in the arm, either arm, and I'm going to do it on my right arm because I am right-handed. So that'll be the most difficult place I would think to do it. And what they say to do, to tighten it up on, say you were shot here, or cut here, maybe if somebody attacked you with a knife, or you just cut yourself, you got a bad bleeder there, and you got to hold this with your teeth, and then pull it shut, all right? And you're bleeding the whole time here. So I got it pretty tight. I don't think I got it as tight as I did on my leg. Then you start ratcheting, right, like so. And I think you can probably get it tight. It feels pretty tight now. And my understanding is, if it doesn't hurt, it's not tight enough. So there's that. A couple things about that I don't like. First of all, I actually have a partial, like some dental work that makes it really hard for me to grab this with my teeth. I don't think you can get it as, I have a hard time getting it as tight. And if you're older, if you wear dentures or whatever, that might be a serious issue for you. The other issue that I have with this one is, like for my son, when he was in the 5th grade, this probably wouldn't have worked. And so for children or even for pets, that right there is gonna, this whole mechanism here is gonna minimize the fact that you really can't get it, how small you can get it. That's gonna be about as small as you can get it. And honestly, there's some kids' arms or legs are even smaller than that. You might get a little smaller, but it's really going to be difficult. So I think it's limited to full-size adults. The other issue I have with this one, and look, this is a great tourniquet. I'm not knocking the tourniquet, but for me, for everyday carry, it's just too big, and it's just, as you can see, to loosen it up off when it's tight like this, it's not really a piece of cake either. But you know, if they had to, if you get them to, once you put it on, you're not going to take it off anyway until you get to the emergency room. So they could probably cut it off if they had to. But so the smallest really it'll go to carry it. You can't really fold it over because you might break that. It's going to be about six inches long, maybe 6-7 inches long. And it's going to be kind of a pouch like that, and you can fold it up and try to tuck it under the loop, finger loop or whatever, which is actually what I did, how I had it stored. I'll show you that. I'll just do it down here and then I'll take it up and show you kind of under there. But it's still pretty big. You're not going to carry that really in your pockets unless you have cargo pockets or something like that. You might put it in a bag, but I really think it's important to have a tourniquet on your body, because if you don't have your bag with you, or you're not holding your bag, or you drop your bag, you're not going to have a tourniquet. So for me, this was just not I guess you could put it around your waist, but this was not a I looked for, I had to find another tourniquet, I'll put it that way. It's a great tourniquet, but it just didn't work very well for me for EDC. And I think this got the drawbacks of not being as easy to apply to yourself. So there's that one. So that's the ratchet one. Next one we'll take a look at is the softt-w, and this is a windlass style tourniquet, and it's a little easier to put on by yourself. And this is a new improvement. It's got a latch system here for taking it off or on. If you want to put it around your leg really quickly, you can just pop this. It's got like this little buckle here with a little loop. You can put it around your leg, loosen it up a little bit, around your arm, and just hook it on. If you can't slip it over, it's really easy to snap on like so, and then just pull it tight like so. Once you get it tight, then basically you just start winding this thing up, and it cinches down really pretty quickly. And then on the softt here, you've got just a once you get as tight as you can get it, then you clip it on that little ring here. Now I think the cats actually have a fabric loop, but then probably would want to go a couple more rounds, and then there you go. That's good. And this pretty easy to use. It's not hard to use one-handed either. So that's on your leg. Let's try it one-handed on my right arm. So the easiest thing to do is just slip it over. Try to make it as small as you can. Slip it over, and then just for me it's a little harder to do it one-handed. Maybe hold this with my teeth. Still kind of hard. It's really hard for me to get this one tight enough one-handed, to be honest with you, because it's pretty loose there. I think you need to get it tighter to start, so you can kind of clench it down and pull it. Once you get it tight, then you can wind it up pretty good, and I can tell that's definitely getting tight. A couple more turns, it would be definitely working. But again, the harder for me to put on one-handed. It's a great tourniquet. I think this style tourniquet has saved a lot of lives, proven to save lives. It's a little difficult for me. The other thing about this one, even though it gets smaller than the TX2, it's still pretty bulky. This is about the best way I could figure out to get it to actually store it, wrap it up. It's still pretty bulky once it's all kind of all together here. You can see it's about that big, about 4 inches long and 1.5 inches, 2 inches around. So it's going to be just uncomfortable in your pocket, and a lot of parts here it's really, I don't know a way to carry this other than maybe in a cargo pocket. If you're wearing jeans, it's going to be kind of uncomfortable. So the price on this one, by the way, the softt is $35, so it's the second most expensive one. Again, great tourniquet. I'm not knocking it. I know this style tourniquet has saved a lot of lives. For me, for EDC, it doesn't work as well, because you know what, it's kind of like, it's probably better to have a full-size Glock 19 than a Glock 26 or 43, but if you're not going to carry it, it doesn't do you any good. So same thing with tourniquets. So there's that one. So the next tourniquet I bought was a rat's tourniquet, and this is it's an elastic style tourniquet. And basically the way that works is you've got this 3-finger loop here, and to show you, put it on somebody's leg or your leg, you put this thing here, you run it through the loop, and then basically you pull it back, right? And then you pull it really tight, as tight as you can get it, and then you're going to keep it tight. You want to go around a couple of times. You just want to try to maintain like an inch and a half wide band, and then after you get it around, you hook it in here and does that. So you can see it's on my leg now. I can feel it. Well, on your legs, that's really it's hard to get that more than a couple of wraps there. So they came out with I guess it's a 2.0 or a whatever, and I've got one here. I'm actually wearing this, and I learned this carry method from John Lovell on his video, so I'll put a link to that below. I'm not going to steal his technique here. And the 2 one is a little bit longer. You can see it's maybe like 3-4 inches longer, And I actually got the black one because if I do carry it around my waist, and it's not as noticeable if my shirt pops open. So, but the rat's tourniquet is about $18, and what I like about it is, from a self-aid standpoint, it's really easy to apply to yourself. So, same thing, right arm. Using my weak side arm, just kind of loop that through, put it on your arm. You just pull it one hand, start getting it tight, and just wrap it around. And you want to keep them close together, kind of where you stack them, so you make a wider restrictive area, or as wide as possible. Not wide as possible, maybe a couple inches. And then you pull it out, and you got just enough. You come up here and you hook it in there, and you're good. And that'll get you to the emergency room. And these tourniquets also have been tried and proven. A lot of people that I really respect, that do have a lot more knowledge and skill, say these are great tourniquets. So I have to default to their opinion. So I like this one because it is very easy to apply to yourself. Another thing I like about this one, even the just like the windlass one, there's a limit to how small it'll get. This one you can get, and you could put it on a really small child's limb, and it's gonna, you know, it gets down as small as your fingers even. You start wrapping it around. As you wrap it around, then you got even tighter because it's just so flexible. So you have the ability to get tighter, so flexible. So I really like this one. This is a rat's tourniquet. This is one of my 2 everyday carry favorites. The other one, this is actually probably my #1 favorite, but the other one is a TK4, and this I learned about from actually James Yeager. He carries these in his little, I think he calls it ventilated operator kit, and it's basically a very similar thing. It's an 1.5 inch wide elastic band, a couple little hooks on it. Very, very simple. And this one is the price on this one is the lowest price one. It's like $11.15. I actually found it for $7 on the website, but it's got to pay shipping. And the way this works is, and I'm not going to show you on the leg because there's, you know why. You just basically loop this around, and you hook the hook around itself like that. So I'm going to put it up here on my arm like that. Get it wide. Just hook this around itself like that, and then pull it backwards. So you're doing this right here. Can you see that? I'll get where you can see it. So you got the hook here around it, and just pull it backwards, right? You pull it backwards this way, and pull it really tight. Well, I've got it. Okay, so loop it around like so. Where it slides through, pull it really tight, and then just pull this whole thing tight, and pull it around like so. When you get it tight as you can get it, you just hook this hook back in it like in itself like so. And there you go. You got a tourniquet on there, and really easy to use. So really easy to use one-handed by yourself. And the other thing I like about it is it's also easy to use on a very small. Right, it gets about that small, very small limb. And again, because it's an elastic style tourniquet, even though there's a little gap here for whatever, as your subsequent wraps have the ability to get really tight and really small if you're on a child or even a pet. And the other thing I really like about this is, even as you saw, this is kind of the way I carry this one. It's just a roll up like this with a little rubber band around it, like so. And I fold this under like so there's no metal poking out, and just put a rubber band around it. I can tell you this particular tourniquet has been through TSA in my pocket with no problems. I forgot to take it out even one time, and it went right through the scanner. So there's that. That's the TK4s. So just to recap, 3 basic styles of tourniquets: the ratchet tourniquet, like the TX2, good tourniquet, but not my favorite EDC. The softt or the cat tourniquet, a windlass style tourniquet, again, really good. But the negatives for me are it won't only go so small, and it's just kind of bulky. And finally, my pick for EDC tourniquet is either the rat tourniquet or the TK4. And I honestly, of the 2, I think I like the rats better, just because it's a little easier to use. Just a little easier to use. You don't have to try to. You saw I had a little bit of trouble getting that hook situated right. This gets a little smaller, a little easier, I think. And it's just, to me, it's easier to use one-handed. The pro of this one is it's a lot easier, and I got this thing folded backwards, but it's easier to carry in your pocket if you fold it right. This one, it's really because of the metal clip there, it is a little more bulky. But if you use John Lovell's around the waist method, which I will put a link to that video below. If you haven't seen John Lovell's channel, by the way, I encourage you to check it out. It's like one of my new favorite channels. But then you put it around your waist and it's under your shirt, and it's not a big deal. If you're carrying concealed, you're probably going to have your shirt untucked anyway. So there's that. No matter which one you choose, my recommendation is carry a tourniquet. Have a tourniquet with you. Even if you don't carry concealed, if you play with knives and sharp stuff, there's an opportunity for you to really get cut or hurt yourself really badly. And you never know when somebody else, you're going to run into somebody that possibly you could save their life with a simple application of a tourniquet. Anyway, I hope this has been helpful. Again, this is just my non-professional opinion, but this is what works for me, and I hope this is at least giving you some food for thought as to what might work best for you. As always, thanks for watching Survival on Purpose. My name's Brian. Remember, survival's not an accident, so be prepared. I'll see you next time.